Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Alabi.
Thank you so much for having me.
First and foremost, I understand the organization carried out some investigation and research. What are your findings?
Yeah, thank you so much. You know, we were surprised that the cry, the public outcry this year went somehow, and we realized that this is not strange, this is not new, it's just like a tip of the iceberg that we brought out. We just wanted people to realize that the cry is not unreasonable, but at the same time you have to realize that it didn't just start yesterday. The low pass rate, maybe, yeah, probably if we had checked before now, there could have been some kind of similar glitches, but the pattern had been similar. People scoring below 200 had always been far above 60%, 70%. So what is strange this time is because maybe people who had expected to score over 200, close to 300, found out that they scored far below what they expected, and people could at least vouch for them. We know children of professors who even performed very highly in their this mock JAMB, mock UTME, but they found out that at the end of the day they scored just 140, 150. And I think that's actually aroused the interest of everyone to want to cry out. But before now, the pattern had always been the same. Though we had more candidates in 2025, 2024 we had similar growth in number of people sitting exams, but at the same time we realized that the pattern of pass rate has always been similar. Nothing serious about that. It has been very low, and beyond glitches the reasons are always there. Probably we'll go to that later.
All right, so which is, you know, what leads me to our next question. Now they've admitted to certain errors. JAMB has taken responsibility for the mass failure rate this year, stating that almost 400,000 students were affected due to the error on their part and with their systems. Is this something that is happening for the first time? Because the previous, you're saying that in the past 5 years we've had similar failure rates. Is it again, from your investigation or from what you can gather, would you say that it's similar reasons, or is there a different reason why it happened in the same way in the previous years? Yeah,
there have been so many reasons ascribed to poor performance of candidates in the examination. And let me say that we must commend JAMB for admitting its error. JAMB is run by human beings, it's not by spirits. And for someone, it is something that is very rare in our system, especially public system, for public officials to come up and say, yes, we agree. The kind of the system put in place by JAMB, it's commendable, because when you look at the kind of layers, the involvement of different people. In fact, the conduct of exams for PWDs and things like visually impaired, they paid for their forms, bring them to a particular center, feed them, and camp them for about 2 days. And not just that, they will still ensure that they gain admission. That's excellent. But because it is run by human beings, if you could recollect, is it the days of Agor in the US? You will see ballot papers of certain places in another state. So it is a human error, and it is accepted. And we understand that this organization has come up.
But you're also dealing with lives of people here.
Yeah.
If a pilot, if you're on a plane, you don't expect human error to happen, because the result is fatal. And this also affects the lives of human beings, so we can't excuse it.
No, we agree. But any system that is run by human being would definitely have one challenge or the other. So for them to have accepted that this is an error from us is also something that is commendable. But I must also add that beyond just the glitches, you will have seen over time, when you look at the conditions of writing these exams, you look at the CBT system, how much are our candidates in tune to the CBT system.
How computer literate are they?
So when you look at the computer literacy level, how are they? And you go to the interiors, and I'm surprised that people are traveling to places. People who start UTME in 1990 to 2000, they have to go to places to go and sit their exams. But what time do they start exams? Nobody starts exams by 6:30 a.m. You don't ask children of 16, 15, 17 to come out out as early as 6:30 a.m.
Even in the 1990s, they didn't.
No, they didn't. So we had to travel. Normally, people will have to travel distances to go and sit exam because UTME is not conducted in every community. But what we are saying is that technology must have helped us to be able to at least overcome some of these few challenges. If you look at the institutions, you know, JAMB just became a kind of an organization that is probably, I would say, over-empowered. Admission in this, if you look at the system of running tertiary institutions, especially the universities, admissions is a business, admission conduct of the admission is a business of the University Senate. It is a business of the University Senate. But because the universities too have gone overboard, some of them they no longer recognize merit. It degenerated to a stage where merit was relegated to the background.
To pay.
Yeah.
Then you get admission.
So when you look at what has now happened over time, we have seen that JAMB, to be fair, the universities, you could recollect that there was introduction of post-UTME when the institutions didn't believe that the result being paraded by JAMB was good enough. But when this man came, when Professor Loyede came, sanity was introduced to a high level. And consistently in the last 5-6 years, the institutions have realized that the result presented by candidates is consistent with what the candidates also get from their post-UTME. So meaning that those who were bringing 300, 400, 350, 320 before, they could not defend it before. But in the last 5-6 years, and that is why some institutions no longer conduct post-UTME. If you go to LASU, no post-UTME. If you go to LASU STEP, no post-UTME. Many institutions like that. It's because of the trust that they now have, because they have seen it consistently. But because there have also been glitches. Every year you record glitches. Every year exams are rescheduled for candidates. But if you are conducting exams for almost 2 million candidates, you will not expect that all the 2 million will have. But there are some, you know, this is deep-rooted. The challenges are always there. Go and check the candidates themselves. Many people didn't even know they're going to write the exam. I have candidates that they reported to me who even missed their exam. Why did they miss their exam? It's not because it is far or whatever. It's because they even forgot they had exams. And these are people who, the people to sponsor them, they are already there. The sponsors have to reach out to me and say, look, this person missed his exam. So what do you want us to do? They said, because they forgot.
They want to go into music industry.
Okay, but I mean, coming back to JAMB and JAMB taking responsibility, Nigerians don't seem to think that this is responsibility enough, and I'll tell you why. You talked about students who forgot about their JAMB exams. However, there were reports of students who allegedly did not write the exam, but were even given a score. That's how bad this particular year was. And now there's also the report of the possibility of, we don't know how many people, but for now the only report we have is of a 19-year-old girl who lost her life as a result of this. So are we saying that the fact that JAMB has come out to own up and say, oh, we are sorry, and the registrar broke down in tears, are you saying that so far, I mean, that's enough? Nigerians, because what we're seeing is the response from Nigerians. They're asking that he step aside. They're asking for his social media handler to step aside. They're saying the person is insensitive, and the way the wording of the message was, framed. Man proposes, God disposes. So it seemed, because if you follow the trajectory of this announcement, there was a pushback from JAMB. It did seem that people did not know what they were saying. It felt like JAMB was being defensive. So in essence, I say all of this to ask, do you think that the manner in which JAMB has taken accountability is accountability enough, and that should suffice?
I'm not here to defend Professor Loyede or to defend JAMB. I'm here to also let us know that the education crisis that we have in Nigeria, I don't just take one incident. It will take, if somebody has offended me, I will look back and see, has this person done me good in the past? There's nobody without its own deficiency. We all have our own issues. But when you look at what has this person done within the last 7 or 8 years that he has been in the saddle, you have to realize the fact that there is a whole lot of change in the system. Before now, you could score 300 and not gain admission to institutions. Today, there's something they call Central Admission Processing System, which is CAPS. CAPS will reveal to you what this person scored. Before, institutions were doing what they liked. They could give you admission, they could not give you admission. They have a lot of lists that they put. You have VC's list, you have discretionary list, you have... So until the man came up and said, look, I've been vice chancellor. I've been secretary of Association of Vice Chancellors. I've held different positions. So he understands how these things run. And today, you could see if somebody scores this, immediately you are going to see the score and you are going to see where this person belongs. You know, JAMB is not, UTME is not an achievement test. Yeah. It's a ranking test. And it allows you to be able to rank candidates based on their scores. So what I'm saying in essence is that if there is an error, could we also look back and see the kind of the progress we have recorded over the years? Before now, you see a lot of, they call themselves tutorial centers. They form cabals, and we call them miracle centers. These were centers who were controlling, and you will see somebody who never prepared, and they will get exam script. Nobody can tell you that you saw, in the last 2-3 years, nobody will tell you that they saw JAMB script, JAMB questions before the exam. That was very, very fundamental. And so all these things, you can't be 100% perfect. I'm not here to defend JAMB, but what I'm saying in essence is that errors will
look at his antecedents, right?
Yeah. So you have to
considering his antecedents, yes. Critics of Professor Oloyede would also tell you that it was under his administration, his leadership of JAMB, that it was alleged that a snake swallowed money. Okay. And it was also under his leadership that JAMB became a revenue generating institution, selling recharge card, declaring that they made X amount of billions in a year, which is not their primary mandate.
Oh no, that is, and that is why we are here as journalists. We are to enlighten the public.
How do you respond to that?
Yeah, we are to enlighten the public. I think these are things that require commendation and not condemnation. I'm going to tell you about snake swallowing money. It is based on his own investigations. When he came in, rot in the system, go and check his predecessor. His predecessor is still facing EFCC up to now, Professor Devreporting. He owned so many facilities, and when he came on board, he realized that they were selling scratch cards and they were not accountable to the system. JAMB had been making money all along. There was no year JAMB never made money, but what this person was able to put in place was to be able to say, let there be accountability. And it was very surprising. When investigation started, it was in Benue that they realized that one of the officers who was meant to account for the money they collected, they account, and what was the reason? They said snake came to swallow money. So instead of us to commend him, we thought because the head who actually investigated and allowed the process to follow due system, then we said we should probe him. When you look at the kind of the system that has been put in place, they say under him, he's been remitting money. When you make resources, for the first time under his watch, like I said, I'm not here to defend him, but under his watch, the money they were paying for UTME was reduced when they realized that we were making more money. No, we can't be charging as high as this. And what was the next recommendation they made? They recommended to the federal government and said, we need to reduce how much we charge per this exam. Because when we are accountable, I don't like this messianic approach to things, because when you keep praising people, it enters their head. And maybe that was why Prof was insisting that there was no error, there is no this, there is no that. At a stage, he's coming on board to JAMB, sanitize JAMB as a body. Right. And we must commend him for that. If there is an error, we must take that error as an exception. And we must treat it the way it should. If people say, if the system says, no, because of this mistake, we should remove you, I don't have any problem with that. But what I'm saying is that based on what we have seen, I've been covering JAMB. I'm the chairman of Education Writer Association of Nigeria. I've been covering education sector for over a decade. And I understand what every single sector, what they have been doing. I know the corruption in the system. I've tried to even look at, between 2011 and 2015, we conducted findings about all these examinations. I was one of the few who came out to challenge them when they started saying people will not wear wristband, we are going to do this. And I told them, all these efforts to curb malpractices, they are excellent, but they are not the best. But what is the best? The best is until we change our reward system, and until, I've said it times without number here, until we change our reward system and we value merit over certificate. It is the rush for everybody to go to university. It's because of the reward, it's because of our belief in certificate. Many university students are meant to be learning trade. People believe that if you learn trade, if you learn vocations, whatever, that you are not good. Yeah. That is not what operates in other clients. In other clients, whatever you do, you are respected and you earn your reward.
Now,
All right.
JAMB has said this over 300,000 students, mostly in Lagos.
Almost 400,000.
Almost 400,000
Yeah.
would have an opportunity to resit the exams, starting from this,
Today.
16.
15, 16.
From today.
16, I believe.
16.
Is it not too short a time from the last time they wrote the exams? And also, what's the guarantee that JAMB is adequately prepared so that we won't have this glitches repeat itself?
If you have monitored JAMB over time, the way some of us have done, number one, I wouldn't speak about the timing. Psychologists may have to react and say, look, this person who cried 3-4 days ago may not be in the right frame of mind to sit exam within the short period of time. Number two is the fact that maybe some of them have even traveled out after the exam. How are they going to come back and be able to sit this exam again? WAEC is also ongoing. The admission is not going to end tomorrow. Admission into tertiary institution may not start until around September, October. I would have expected JAMB to relax and allow WAEC is conducting its own SSE.
So
they even have a break today. So some of them may be having some kind of clashes. NECO will start its own exam, which will run for like about 8 weeks or thereabouts. We will have allowed all this to go down, allow the candidate to be rest assured that they are going to rewrite their exams and they can prepare fully. This rush, I may not like it, because when you look at the conditions, somebody who cried, who wept, or somebody who psychologically are they balanced? I'm not a psychologist, but when you look at it, we can review it and say, look, it is not ideal for us to rush them. But when you look at the preparedness of JAMB, if you look at the excuse given, there is a pattern. It started on the 20, I think on Tuesday. It was just the first 3 days or thereabouts. And immediately they realized it. They realized that, oh, there must be a kind of a solution. The other, when JAMB explained it, we have lag and we have card. In terms of the category of how they run their vehicles to convey the examination script. But question. So what they realized is that one effected the corrections properly. The other one did not effect the corrections properly. There is no excuse. So if within the period you have seen and you see the kind of the people who actually went to observe. We had the likes of Chidoka, former minister, people who believe that, oh, we have been part and parcel of this, we should be able to know. So they all saw it, it was open, and that was why they decided that only 379,000 plus candidates should benefit from the receipt. But at the same time, why do we need to rush it? We should have calmed down, calm all the nerves, fix them at appropriate time so that there won't even be clash with other examinations. Those are the things that I also see in this.
Okay, let's go back to this report that your organization has found. And I'm also looking at the Punch newspaper. The Punch had published a report titled "Concerns Rise Over Teaching" as over 9 million fail UTME in 7 years. And then they said the report revealed that the average failure rate for the UTME conducted by the Joint Admissions Matriculation Board over 7 years stood at 78.29%. Out of 11.9 million candidates who took the UTME between 2018 and 2024, about 9.17 million candidates scored below 200, the pass mark, which is frightening. What would you say are some of the factors that have contributed to this constant repeated failure rates?
Okay. Yeah, one thing is very simple. What is simple is that, are we taking UTME as an exception? Can we compare UTME and other exams that we have in Nigeria? We have WAEC, we have NECO, we have NAPTEP, the same rate pattern, the same, and WAEC is not CBT based. You are going to see the performance. You can tell, unlike in those days, we seem to see technology as something that should improve our reading culture. But it is the other way around. How do we use it? You are going to look at what has been the performance, what has been the investment of even the government on the education. It is not unlike those days. We go to classrooms these days. You see a lot of, maybe because our concentration has been on the cities. Go to the interior. You see a lot of challenges that are there. Today, by 2024 statistics produced by the Nigerian government, Nigeria needs about 200,000 teachers to have, to at least the gap 200,000 teachers are needed to be able to fill the teaching gap in Nigeria. Where are they? The bulk of education is supplied is by private institutions. Go and check those who perform excellently.
You were going to drive at something, talking about the interior.
Yeah.
But beyond the teachers' numbers, or what other issues are they facing?
Oh, you talk about technology. When former Governor Rauf Aregbesola introduced Okoimo in Osun, some of us campaigned against it because we saw it as a misplaced priority. Why? Because we knew what the level of the teachers were at the time. Many of them could not even handle the tabs. Where were they going to be charging the tabs? You had schools without solar panels, you had schools without power, you had schools without laboratory, you had schools without enough teachers, you have a Yoruba teacher teaching science subjects. So you are going to first of all address all this. Wow. If you didn't address, but because he was also ambitious, because you travel and you say, these are small kids who can do this, why can't we import and try to do this in our own state? So copy and paste, rather than fixing what was necessary. At a time, the governor was focusing on mixing schools, changing their uniforms, doing all manner of things. But we said it. I told them at that time, we had a lot of opportunities to discuss that, look, we have misplaced priority. For years, because when the military took over, you will realize that between 1960 something to 1999, we had military in place. They created a lot of vacuum. Investment in education went down completely. Teacher education was no longer something that is very worthy. Then, because of that reward system that changed, when you had what was called, that was in the 80s, that was when early 90s, that was when 419 was introduced. And you had people who were making money without working for it. And that really affected the psychology of everyone. So by the time democracy also came, politics became so lucrative that a lot of people are not interested in education. And teaching, which used to be noble profession, went to the background. And I've said it, you had the time in the past when teachers were the models in the society. Until that time, today, 70% of teachers are passers-by. They have it as alternative jobs. It is not their primary thing. It is not something that comes from them. It is because, let me just do this. But then when you look at the schools, they are mushroom schools. These are schools who were transformed from being daycare centers then to becoming
but we have
school.
Regulators. There's UPEC, there's the Ministry of Education that registers all these schools. So don't we have standardization?
What is the compliance level? It is only in the cities. Most of the schools that you see outside, and I'm going to tell you, that is the challenge of the investment in the education sector. Nigerians wanted schools near their houses. If you are a parent, you want to get out of your house, enroll your child, so that when you come back, is either the child could easily walk down to the home. Go and check the neighborhood. How many schools are available? Basic schools, they are not available. And if they are not available, you have to allow mushrooms to take over. And that's why you have those that we even categorize as low-cost schools, where people have to pay like 15 naira per day to be able to go to school. It is because there is no government-funded public schools that could allow children to take the best of education.
If we even look at UNESCO's recommendation for, what our budgetary allocation to education should be, we're a far cry from this. I think we need to wrap up. But on a final note, the House of Rep is investigating this matter. They've made reference to Professor Bishop Oloyede's, his time in as a registrar so far, how he's functioned with integrity, ensuring that there's been funds recovered back to the federal coffers. But they're making a suggestion now. We're seeing the suggestion that they should have one computer-based testing center in every local government. So that's about 774 CBT centers. Do you first of all agree with this suggestion, and how well do you think this will be helpful in curbing this glitch that we've experienced in this current system?
It's not just about starting building computer CBT centers. There is no local government in Nigeria today that doesn't have a CBT center. It could be privately owned, and that is why JAMB has been advocating that there should be mega centers. And I think some states are even giving them parcels of land, and people are coming together to build a center that can accommodate about 10,000 candidates at a go. Yes, it is good if government has its own centers that can control. It is good if you have it across the 774 local governments of the Federation. excellent. But what we are saying is that these places are still going to be manned by individuals. Corruption is our major challenge, and that is what we are faced. Maintenance culture is a major challenge. You will see that we have institutions in Nigeria that I know of that you have the maintenance officials to go and change AC. Rather than recommending and fixing it, they remove it. They take it to their home and they say, that thing is spoiled. And I know of a CEO who is solving, a provost of a college, who is solving the challenge of fighting them against doing that until they ensure that it was removed. So until we are able to address the corruption in the system, what the man is also facing is also a challenge of fighting very seriously. I know of a lot of individuals who are not happy.
So, I mean, it's a multifaceted fight. In 10 seconds, so do you now think we should, since we don't have enough technology or enough access to technology now to help, do you think we should augment it with the manual? So maybe revert to technology where it is abundant, and in other cases people can revert to the paper and pen method.
Yeah, you know, CBT exams, it is easier for UTME to be conducted through UTB. The one that I'm going to really campaign that I won't support is the idea of saying WAEC, which has theories, which has practicals, should now move to CBT. Which was another conversation that came up recently. Yeah, another conversation, because the minister said it. The minister is coming from America. And you know, he's into health sector. He's a medical doctor. He really doesn't. I'm not sure he really understands the rudiment, what it takes, especially when you go to the interior in this country.
But do you think that we should combine for JAMB? Because right now,
CBT is excellent, and I'm going to say it. Okay. Because Nigerian students are not going to be students for Nigeria alone. We have to think of what the global perspective. When they finish UTME, they are still going to have other examinations with international organizations. So you cannot allow your students who are already close to 16, 17 not to be able to compete.
So I think maybe now our goal should now to look out for the other underserved
system that we have.
And ensure that they understand, because it will not be equitable to see that people are not taught with access to computers and technology, and then they are using technology to assess them. That's far from equitable. Thank you so much, Mojeed, for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central. It's been a delight to have a conversation with you.
Thank you so much.